HARK, we are here. It is time for the final part 4 of Regroup Phase Twilight Morality, covering the last 2 weeks worth of previews. This is out on a day that I don't normally put out videos, which is a Saturday, but there's a reason why, and you will have known this if you watched yesterday's video. Lots of cool stuff coming from the creators. This is our final creator section of previews from the Villainy week worth of stuff. Lots of cool things to go over here. Not specifically exclusively Villainy stuff in this episode, but there's at least one Villainy card that is bonkers that we'll see towards the end of the video that you all, I think, will think is really cool in and of itself. So without any further ado, let's jump into these previews and showcase what Star Wars Unlimited creators over the last couple of weeks have showcased to you. Starting us off hot, we have here a Vigilance hero coming by way of Maindeck. Link in the description below to their preview for this card. This is a card that makes me irrationally angry. Not irrationally angry, it just makes me angry. But it is a design that a lot of people, I think, are going to like for their decks in Vigilance going forward. We have here Captain Typho protecting the Senator. This is a 3-cost Vigilance Heroism ground unit, 2 power, 4 health, Naboo Republic Trooper. When played and on attack, give a unit Sentinel for this phase. This is an uncommon number 46 out of 257 in TWI. So this is effectively not a reverse Calculating Magna Guard, but it does the same thing as Calculating Magna Guard, just for other units. Whereas the Magna Guard gives itself Sentinel when it comes into play or when one of your units is defeated, Captain Typho will give something, any unit, it could be himself, Sentinel when played and also when he attacks. So if your opponent is plugging off your Sentinels in a way that you don't really like, you drop Captain Typho, give something else that you would want to have Sentinel, maybe that Knight of the Republic we saw a couple videos ago, or you just deal with what you've got going forward and make him the Sentinel so that way they have to blow through 4 health on a unit. The amount of Sentinels that are coming into this game is actually very concerning to me. I think there was already too much Sentinel in the game for my tastes, and this and the Calculating Magna Guard just adds more. So you're going to need a lot more removal, you're going to need to sacrifice a lot more units to get rid of those Sentinels so your bigger units can get through, or you just stick with a bunch of Saboteur and try to hope that that saves you in the long run of the game. I know a lot of players are going to like this. This is going to go into a ton of Vigilance Heroism decks because they really like that Sentinel. They really like stifling the attack speed of opposing decks. And that is a natural counter to aggressive strategies. And while I don't like it, I understand why it's there. This is a good card. I'm not saying it's a bad card. It's just a mechanic I don't like, and I don't like seeing more of it. And this is just going to flood everything with absolutely more of it. Next up, we have a Command Clone unit from Alliance Dispatch. Link in the description below. This is an interesting card. We have here the 501st Liberator. I imagine it's supposed to be Liberators, but whatever. 3-cost Command Ground unit, 3 power, 3 health, Republic Clone Trooper. When played, if you control another Republic unit, you may heal 3 damage from a base. This is a common number 109 out of 257 in TWI. 3-cost 3/3, not a super great stat line because we do have a lot of 2-cost 3/3s that are very good, or 3/2s, whatever the case may be. However, because this is a card that's designed to be supported by a bunch of other cards that are either on the board or cards that are coming down, its when played effect actually gives you that extra benefit for it being 1 cost additional. Now, you could play this early game, especially if you're going up against a lot of aggressive strategies, but this is probably something you're going to want to save for the mid game when you've taken a little bit of damage on your base, much like you wait until there's damage on your base to attack with your restore units. 501st Liberator comes down, heals some damage from the base, and on the next turns it can be used for coordinate shenanigans or just other clone stuff. It is a Republic unit, so it gets bonuses based upon the Republic stuff, including the officer that is basically the Fleet Lieutenant. Very interesting design here. It is command only, it is not command heroism, which makes a lot of sense for the 501st because they do end up becoming like the penultimate bad guys as part of Vader's Legion in the future of the Empire. So very interesting design here. I like it a lot. Our next preview comes by way of Tabletop Misfits. Link in the description below to their preview. We have a Republic capital ship. This is the Tranquility Inspiring Flagship. This is a 7-cost Heroism space unit, 7 power, 6 health, Republic vehicle capital ship. When played, you may return a Republic unit from your discard pile to your hand. On attack, each of the next 3 Republic cards you play this phase cost 1 less. This is a rare number 246 out of 257 in TWI. TWI. We're going to see the Separatist version of this later, but let's talk about the Republic version of the way this ship works. It's expensive at 7 cost, but it does provide a 7/6 body on the board. It allows you to recur one of your Republic units, any of them, regardless of the cost, back to your hand so you can use them in a later round. And on attack, each of the next 3 Republic cards you're going to be playing, that phase is going to cost 1 less. So you're going to try to flood the board with minor ships, some clones, maybe some small Jedi, or something big, and then a couple of smaller things in order to be able to take advantage of this on attack. I like this ship a lot. I think it's really neat. It's a fun design. It's one of those things that's going to try to progress the strategy of Republic stuff forward. Unfortunately, this card is nowhere near as good as the other ship we're going to see later, the Separatist version of what this is in Villainy, because of what that does for that strategy and what this does for this strategy. I think this ship could have been a lot better, but it is still going to be something that I personally will probably run 1 or 2 of, because the when played ability is very relevant, and the on attack ability can definitely help you get those coordinate effects online by reducing the cost of your units by 1 for the next 3 things you play that phase. So fun card, great art, Venator here. I'm hoping we see some Acclamators, because that's definitely my favorite capital ship in all of Star Wars. But we'll have to see how they basically band up the rest of the set here with the previews that we're going to be getting over the next couple of weeks. Our next preview comes by way of Spice Squadron. Link in the description below to their preview. This is a vigilance unit that creates a clone trooper token in a method that we haven't seen yet so far. We have here Outspoken Representative, a 2-cost vigilance heroism ground unit, 0 power, 3 health, Republic official. While you control another Republic unit, this unit gains Sentinel. When defeated, create a clone trooper token. This is a common number 43 out of 257 in TWI. The goal of this unit is to create a minor roadblock that your opponent has to get over, so that way you can create the clone trooper token and keep that pressure on mid-game, whereas in the early game, this isn't necessarily going to be doing much for you outside of just being a minor speed bump. There's a lot of things that can clear 30 health. There's a lot of things that can bypass Sentinel. If you're trying to ram this into something else to get the value of that when defeated, you're probably spending your resources in a very poor manner. However, in Limited, I think this is going to be very good, because there's not going to be a lot of things that can clear this out without a significant amount of effort, or at least there's going to be a lot of strategies that your opponent's going to be utilizing in Limited that means that they have to go through this to keep trying to win the game. Constructed, I don't think this is very strong, but it'll be interesting to see in testing. Limited, I do believe it is quite strong, because it still creates a trooper token. A 2-cost, 2/5 effectively is going to be quite good, even if it is in 2 different batches for Limited. I'm interested to see how this works. When defeated, create a clone trooper token is not something we've seen yet so far. Hopefully we can get a couple more of these, and hopefully we can get them in a manner where our opponent wants to actually defeat them rather than just kind of ignore them, return them back to your hand, or clear out your other Republic units, so that way this thing no longer has Sentinel. Next up, we have a funky event coming by way of SWU Cube. Link in the description below to that preview. Let's check this out. We have here Grenade Strike. This is a 2-cost aggression tactic event. Deal 2 damage to a unit. You may deal 1 damage to another unit in the same arena. This is a common number 171 out of 257 in TWI. You can see the little clone trooper here prepping his thermal detonator to be able to destroy some of these droids. I would have liked it if you could have dealt potentially more damage to more units, because this still will only clear 2 units total, or deal damage to 1 unit and potentially clear another one, or yada yada blah blah blah, whatever combination thereof you're going to use. Dealing 2 damage to a unit and then 1 damage to another it's good. It's not terrible. I actually think this is a great card, especially if you're going to see this a lot in Limited. It's going to help you clear out those battle droid tokens if you're playing this. But in the grander scheme of Premier, something like Daring Raid already does 2 damage to a unit or a base. It's much more versatile. And while that won't clear multiple things, it only costs 1, whereas Grenade Strike costs 2 to do 2 damage, but 1 to another. So you're going to be using this in situations where you're trying to clear a batch of 2 units that your opponent has on their side of the board, or clear a shield and eliminate a unit. Again, combinations thereof. I like the art. I think this is an interesting card. This is going to be very, very good in Limited for both sides, because it's not limited to specifically clones. It's just pull pin, chuck grenade, go, right? And, that's not terrible. Next up, a preview from a creator whose name I'm going to butcher. I apologize in advance. This is coming by way of Valle del Jedi. Link in the description below to that preview. It's an upgrade, and it features a fairly fun moment in Attack of the Clones. We have here on top of things a 2-cost Cunning upgrade. When played, attached unit cannot be attacked this phase. Gives you +2/+0 On top of things, it's a trick upgrade. This is an uncommon number 219 out of 257 in TWI. On top of things, does a couple of interesting things. It allows you to get a little bit of extra power for 2 cost, which normally upgrades like this would give you +2/+2. This only gives you +2/+0. But it also makes it so that your opponent can't just attack into whatever you're using in order to be able to eliminate it. So ideally, what they're going to have to do is exhaust it, return it to your hand, or just outright defeat it with an effect. Not great, because that's readily available to pretty much every aspect except for command. Although command could defeat it by damage, but it means that you're not going to be suffering from ambush, which is pretty good, especially if you know that that's going to be coming and you drop on top of things in order to be able to get that protection. You can see this is Padme knocking out the cuffs during the arena scene in Attack of the Clones. Very cool design, lovely art here. I don't think this is going to see a significant amount of play, but a 1 of 2 of in decks that you know are going to be ambush heavy might end up being a fairly interesting tech moving forward. Our next preview comes by way of TowerNumberNine. It is our Separatist capital ship that is in Twilight of the Republic, and this card is bonkers. We have here the Invisible Hand, Imposing Flagship. This is an 8-cost villainy space unit, 4 power, 7 health, Separatist vehicle capital ship. When played, create 4 battle droid tokens. On attack, exhaust any number of friendly Separatist units. Deal 1 damage to the defending player's base for each unit exhausted this way. This is a rare number 234 out of 257 in TWI. Anybody who looks at the 2 cards in comparison here, the Tranquility and Invisible Hand, are going to see that the Invisible Hand is better in every single way imaginable. The Invisible Hand costs 1 more, has 3 less attack, 1 more health. But the fact that it drops 4 battle droid tokens itself blows away anything the Tranquility does. Then it also has an on-attack ability where you can exhaust any of your friendly Separatist units and deal damage to your defending player's base based upon each exhausted unit this way. So you can Invisible Hand to attack something to try to clear it off the board, and then exhaust a bunch of your droid tokens in order to be able to do damage to your opponent's base, basically blasting it from orbit. Or if the Invisible Hand itself is just attacking the base, you get extra damage. You can also use this as a way in space to bypass your opponent's ground sentinels. If your opponent has a bunch of ground sentinels you can't clear and you don't want to board wipe just yet, Invisible Hand to attack into your opponent's base, exhaust your entire board and deal a bunch of damage, and then use your board wipe to do whatever the case may be, or exploit, or whatever. There's a lot of different ways that this works. This is a villainy unit that has no style aspect to it. That means it goes into every single Separatist deck that runs villainy, which is all of them. This card is incredible. Not even counting the fact that Dooku can exploit this out for 1 leader side or 3 on his unit side when he does an attack. So you could drop this for 6 on the leader side, or potentially for 2 on the unit side, and it refreshes the things you exploit. This is an absolutely incredible card that's going to fuel every Separatist strategy for years, and that's really cool for the Separatists. Next up, we have 2 previews coming by way of Rolling Solo. Link in the description below. We have a ground unit, which we'll see here, and a space unit, which we'll see next. Very interesting designs here. Let's check them out. We have here Droid Commando, a 3-cost command villainy ground unit, 4 power, 3 health, Separatist droid and trooper traits. While you control another Separatist unit, this unit gains ambush. This is a common number 84 out of 257 in TWI. This is basically escort skiff, but for Separatists and 1 cost earlier. You get to ambush out, deal some damage to one of your opponent's units, and then clear the way for whatever else you want to do at the beginning of that round, so long as you have a Separatist on the board, which is very easy given how many battle droid tokens you can drop onto your side of the board. I like this. I think it's cool. It does cool things. It's very Separatist synergistic, and because it's command, you're already working with the best Separatist leader that we know of so far, which is Dooku. But theoretically, if another Separatist leader comes up that's either vigilance, cunning, or aggression, you can still back it up with a command-based, maybe the Droid Manufactorium, or just another command-based ECL, whatever, doesn't matter. And you still get access to probably the best Separatist aspect in the game, which is command, which also gives you the other command villainy staples that are also very good. Droid Commando, I said it in the last video, I'm going to say it again, droids be winning. Next up from Rolling Solo, we have the space unit they previewed. This is Vanguard Droid Bomber. This is a 2-cost aggression space unit, 2 power, 2 health, Separatist droid, vehicle, and fighter. When played, if you control another Separatist unit, deal 2 damage to an enemy base. This is a common number 160 out of 257 in TWI. Aggression Separatists get an extra base damager, much like the UM9 or the series droid. When defeated, deals damage to your opponent's base. This thing is going to deal damage to your opponent's base when played if you control another Separatist, which is not hard for Separatists, because again, they can just flood the board with a bunch of cheap tokens or other cheap units, and you get your Vanguard Bomber. It's not a powerful unit in and of itself, but much like things like Daring Raid or Reckless Gunslinger, or even Sabine's effect on her leader ability, you can come out of nowhere with some extra damage to your opponent's base, again, so long as you have the Separatist unit, which you are going to have the Separatist unit because you're going to have a lot of them. You can even drop this Vanguard Droid Bomber for 2, throw the 2 damage under your opponent's base as long as you control another Separatist, and then exploit it to bring out your Squadron of Vultures so you can do a bigger attack on the next round. Or exploit it for literally anything else you have use for. This is a cool design. I like it a lot. I said it before in this video. I've said it before in another video. Droids stay winning. Next up, we have a Space Separatist Battle Droid token creator coming by way of the Jade Throne. Link in the description below. We have here Confederate Courier. This is a 2-cost command villainy space unit, 2 power, 1 health. Separatist vehicle fighter. When defeated, create a battle droid token. It's a common, number 79 out of 257 in TWI. We've seen the vigilance version of this, which creates a battle droid token. We've seen the aggression version of this, which deals damage to the base. I don't think we've seen a cunning version of this yet, but that will probably change here soon-ish, much like we had the bounty cycle of 1-cost units that had better stats but had bounty draw a card on them. I imagine the Separatists are all going to get something that does something similar to this. This is just the space version of it, so you can deploy it in space, you can attack on the next round, you can exploit it to get your unit down, and then still have a battle droid token to be able to do other shenanigans on future rounds. A lot of value town coming from the Separatists. A lot of things that are going to do things when they're deployed, when they're defeated, and even when they attack. We've seen a lot of those effects in the game already, but this is just throw a battle droid token, throw a battle droid token, throw a battle droid token, give some power, throw a battle droid token, do some damage, throw a battle droid token. And, you know, for a guy who likes tokens, that's pretty cool. Next up, we have a double command unit coming by way of Outmaneuver. Link in the description below to their preview. It's an interesting design. This is a filterer, and I think this might be one of the filterers that does end up seeing a lot of play. We have here Masameda, Vice Chair, 2-cost double command ground units, 0 power, 4 health, Republic official. When you play another unit, you may exhaust this unit. If you do, search the top 4 cards of your deck for a unit, reveal it, and then draw it. Put the other cards in the bottom of your deck in random order. This is a rare number 101 out of 257 in TWI. The reason why I say this is probably going to be run is because it does something. It doesn't necessarily do something on its own, but it does something almost every time you do something else. At least once per round when you play another at most once per round, when you play another unit, you're going to be able to exhaust Masameda, who's not attacking anyway, to be able to get a unit off the top of your deck. You get your best unit that's going to be available to you, you prep your next round, and you get a lot of cool stuff so long as this remains off the board. It's not a huge threat to your opponent, so they're not going to be trying to target it to get it off the board, but if they know the value you're going to get out of it in terms of being able to continue to hit that curve that you want to hit with Masameda, or with your command leader, which this is going to be very useful in Palpatine because it is double command. A lot of people like running double command Palpatine. It isn't official, so it meshes with the Royal Guard. Lots of cool stuff there. If your opponent recognizes you're going to be getting some effects off of this, they're going to target this, but that's okay because you only paid 2 for a 4 health body. Even if you get the ability off only once, that's still pretty good compared to what your opponent is going to have to do to remove it. They can't remove it with a typical 3-cost attacker or 3 power attacker. If they do want to remove it with removal, they have options with stuff like Force Choke and Takedown, but Force Choke gives you a card, Takedown removes that from the ability to be able to remove something else that's actually important. Masameda is just enough under the radar to be really good for you and not so good that your opponent has to remove this on site. So I would not be surprised if this ends up seeing a ton of play in decks like Palpatine, where you get some cool stuff based upon the units that you're playing and the units that you're seeing off the top of your deck. And there we have it. I have covered everything that I missed while I was on vacation. Obviously, this video is coming out at the end of a week of another batch of previews, but you'll see that at the beginning of next week at its normal Tuesday time slot. But for now, lots of cool stuff to have gone over. There's a lot of really cool things coming out of Twilight of the Republic. We've seen about 25% of the set so far as of this video. 77 cards out of 257, I think, was the number given. Starter deck stuff is included in there. Obviously, main set stuff is a little bit less than overall the amount of cards that we've seen so far. I think the Separatist strategy is doing really well. There's a lot of really cool cards that have been shown. Battle droid tokens, exploit targets, exploiter targets, all kinds of different things. The Invisible Hand, absolutely incredible capital ship. Tranquility, not necessarily as much, but still pretty cool. I am worried personally that the Republic strategy is not going to be strong enough to be viable even in just casual games. But the Separatist strategy, I think, might actually be one of the first new themes brought to the game that is highly competitive. I know Underworld technically existed in set 2, but that also existed in set 1. I know that some Rebels have done okay. I know that some Mandalorians have done okay. But I think the way so far that we've seen Separatist cards, especially with Count Dooku, there's a lot of really powerful strategies here that I think a lot of people are going to be really leaning into when it comes to the beginning of set 3. And hopefully that finagles out to some cool stuff in the meta. And it isn't just all good cards decks that exist in the space. So there we go. We're done. I'm going to go take a nap. Thank you very much for joining me, everybody. I appreciate each and every one of you. Remember to like and comment on this video. Let me know what your favorite preview was and why it's the Invisible Hand. Remember to subscribe to the Star Wars Unlimited YouTube channel for all of your Star Wars Unlimited needs. We'll see you in the next one, and I will see you in the stars.